Hi, my name is Arcus679, and today I am going to be ranking all of the cards in the Dizzying Discoveries collection. First of all, let's start off with DNA. This card is... And today I am going to be ranking all of the cards in the Dizzying Discoveries collection. First of all, let's start off with DNA. This card is a niche deck piece. It is, science and Life on Land have historically worked really well hand in hand, and this card, I believe, is really works well with that, in that dynamic. It can do a total of 75 extra power in a turn, but that's not too much for me to consider it to be a good card. None of this is permanent, none of this is until played, so it's a good card, but it's just, it's not there yet. I think Evolution is a good card. It significantly reduces the amount of energy that your limited legendary cards are going to be using, or legendary cards. At the end of the day, you're going to be using a lot of legendaries because a lot of the top tier cards are legendaries, and therefore, if you need the energy in a legendary heavy deck, this card is essentially for you, reducing it by a total of 12 energy in a single round, which is in low energy. Low energy leagues, that 12 energy is extremely important. Doppler effect, easy S. I mean, 30 power and -2 energy for 2 turns. I mean, it's just a powerhouse overall. The -15 can be a little bit pesky, but if you're playing with multiple albums, the 2 turns allows you to play your science cards and then play Doppler to essentially have no negative permanence. It is a absolute powerhouse in mono science decks, and overall it's just a really good card. Fermentation. Fermentation, in my opinion, is similar to the OG Blanket Octopus. I definitely am a strong advocate for Dizzying Discoveries as a collection in total. I think it is very powerful and has a lot of potential in the future, and Fermentation is one of the cards that allows it to have it. And part of the reason is, Blanket Octopus back in the day used to have 11 power until played for all octopuses in your hand, and Fermentation is, since Blanket Octopus was nerfed, this is the next best thing. And honestly, it ramps up power extremely fast. It buffs cards in your hand, not just itself, and overall is just, a solid power per turn card. Speed of Light, I'm gonna say it's a solid F tier. It's just not in a workable position to where, I mean, if you're playing tiny decks, there's so many better cards to be playing than Speed of Light. I mean, one cost for 29 power is good, but you're only getting 29 power out of it, and it's just plus 20 this turn. It's not until played. It's not permanently. It doesn't really add much. Fire, I'm gonna put it in the maybe useful tier. The reason I put it there is I know it has a lot of really good combinations, like with Prometheus and other cards similar to that allows it to strive very usefully. However, it is held back by the fact that it's a burn card. It's not great, and burn cards, in my opinion, if the burn card doesn't help you in any way, something like Door to Hell or that's really it. It's really not all that good. General Relativity is also in the maybe useful tier. I definitely think that playing it on the last round, you get 4 energy for 77 power. That's not that bad, but at the end of the day, there's just so many more powerful cards out there, especially ones that have better power per turn effects. That why would you be using this rather than other cards? I definitely think Absolute Zero is a niche deck piece, primarily because you're not using it in your Ice Age deck. I mean, there's so many better cards to buff it, and we've seen recently in the meta that Ice Age really dominates without this card. So I don't really seeing it being a part of Ice Age decks. However, I do see it being a major component in Dizzying Discovery decks, as William Thomas really is a powerhouse with Absolute Zero, adding like plus 24 power to Dizzying Discoveries, and one other album that I don't seem to recall at this moment. However, that's its utility, and at the end of the day, it, in a roundabout way, buffs itself and its own collection. And, buffing your own collection in queue is a major, pointer to see if, a collection is make it or break it, Quantum Theory, I'm going to put a solid F tier. It's a 2-card combo. 2-card combos aren't good unless there's just like an extreme power boost, or it does some secondary effect like Eye of Ra, Eye of Horus, and Quantum Theory doesn't really do all that much for you. REM Sleep, I'm definitely going to be a niche deck piece. Carl Sagan provides good support for space science decks, and overall, I definitely see REM Sleep as just, a really powerful card. It provides, the power of the Knights Templar, and that already being an extremely powerful card, this does that to all cards in your hand. And it's overall just a really good card, especially at that limited epic rarity. Neutrino is definitely maybe useful if you're really strapped for energy. I mean, it's a 0 cost, 0 power, so that is the upside and the downside. It does cost 0, literally nothing for you, but also does nothing for you in terms of power. And this card's not winning you rounds, it's giving you energy. And at the end of the day, it's also giving your opponents energy, which, might be a heal for you. Maybe they weren't able to play that last card. The one thing that I do think is kind of funny, if it does become like a Shinigami sync, into where, it gets hit by Shinigami, the Lord blessed you that day, and it hit your 0 cost, 0 power card. Magnetoreception, I definitely think is maybe useful. Linux kernel has kind of taken over its niche just overall better, and Linux kernel being, an extremely powerful card. I definitely think that Magnetoreception does have its place. However, it has just been outshined by just an overall better card. Chekhov's Radiation is definitely a niche deck piece. I mean, it's really solid in Statue of Liberty decks, as well as like the Paleontology, Life on Land, Oceans and Seas deck, when you just want that extra science card on there because you're playing Antivirosaurus or something like that. And overall, 20 power for 2 turns allows you to play all your cards and not have one hanging, and it allows you to just use it overall really well. The stroboscopic effect, solid F tier. This thing is just overall really, really bad. I mean, you're leaving 2 cards in your hand for one that's being buffed and one that does nothing for you, as well as having at least just low power overall. This thing really, it has the effect of Blanket Octopus with none of the upsides of Blanket Octopus. So overall, I mean, it's just really bad. Why would you have this in your hand? It doesn't buff itself. It doesn't really help you at all. Hayflick Limit, in my opinion, is a good card overall. I definitely think that plus 20 permanently for Dizzying Discoveries not in your hand is extremely powerful. I definitely have used Dizzying Discoveries in Statue of Liberty decks, where I have, I play my 5 Dizzying Discoveries in a Statue of Liberty, and it has really become a powerhouse. And really, if I need some science cards in X and Y deck and I have a large slot, it definitely has become my go-to collection for that. And Hayflick Limit is the reason why. Now, that minus 10 permanently to your hand can be a bit annoying, but at the end of the day, you're probably hitting some Dizzying Discoveries, which is absolutely lessening the blow. And if you're playing, and if you shape your deck correctly, this minus 10 is not going to matter very much in the long term. Next, Gravity and Gunpowder, in my opinion, are at the very same level and are at a solid F tier. the same reason Quantum Theory is on F tier, so let me put them all together. 2-card combos don't really do anything. Both Gunpowder and Gravity are two completely different collections. Guy Fawkes isn't that good, and Lift is in like Awesome Aviation, which, yes, it is amazing. Awesome Aviation is an amazing collection. Why would you use Gravity though? It doesn't make any sense. Next, Genetic Engineering. It's bottom of maybe useful. I mean, I don't really see a use for it. It's just net 0. Yeah, I'm putting it an F. Fusion Reactor, maybe useful. People don't really play best of fusion cards, but I definitely see it as being possible now that they're releasing new ones. And I mean, it's the same as Evolution, but it just does less. Thermodynamics, another awful card, another awful burn card. I've said it before and I'll say it again, burn cards just aren't good. Coastline Paradox. I definitely think this is maybe useful. I definitely think that Oceans and Seas is really overhated by the devs for whatever reason. I mean, Falling Water, the Superstructures card, the Coastline Paradox, Great Barrier Reef. I mean, all these things like colossally impact Oceans and Seas where, you don't see that in other collections. Quark, good card. Like, colossal stats. I mean, this thing is a powerhouse. And, I mean, if you're buffing it up with things like Dark Web or Hayflick Limit, you are really, like, cranking up. You're seeing 300 power turn at round 4, round 5. Hategorn Temperature, I'm not sure really how to pronounce that, but this thing is maybe useful. It's not awful, but it does do some minus permanence. It does do something, which is good. Quantum Teleportation, definitely, it's alright. I mean, it's maybe useful. You're definitely going to be playing Psychometry and Hysterical Strength if you're playing this card, but I mean, that combos don't really all that great, but the minus energy is pretty alright. Genetic Engineered Organism, again, may be useful. You're not going to really find a good spot for it because Curious Cuisine is already a pretty energy tight deck in my opinion. Of course, there's like energy heavy variations of it, but I've definitely seen me playing this at low energy leagues without having any energy problems. Natural Selection, again, may be useful. Worst case scenario, you give your opponents a ton of power. Best case scenario, you get a power. And at the end of it all, you're coming up net 0. There's no really use to playing this. Cell Theory, I would put in an F tier. I mean, this thing, it's until played, but it's as bad as like something like Gravity, where at least the 2-card combo develops more power. Genetic Inheritance, again, may be useful. There is a lot of intersect between Dizzying Discoveries and Pioneers of Science, so, I mean, maybe, but, I mean, it's alright. Blood Circulation, I think it's up there with Absolute Zero, especially with things like Ice Fish and it being buffed, and it being, I think, buffed by Wetsuit. I mean, this thing definitely has its applications in debuff decks, and overall I think it is a solid card. Radioactivity, again, I'm going to put it with Genetic Inheritance. It's minus 2 power. It's nothing special. Laws of Motion may be useful. It's until played. It adds a little bit more. It's solid. Atom, niche deck piece. Top of niche deck piece, I think. Because you're going to play Dizzying Discoveries. It's at common. It doesn't require you to win. It just gives 10 power. Overall, it's pretty good. Conservation of Energy. It's alright, nothing special. There are definitely better power per turn cards out there. So, I'll put it with lots of motion. It's nothing special. Atmospheric Layer, I'm going to put it with Genetic Inheritance again. Barely buffing a certain collection that isn't really that good. Awesome Aviation is really that good. Dazing Discovery and Awesome Aviation, not that good. Again, Magnetic Poles, same thing as Radioactivity, just with 2 cards now. Periodic Table, you're not going to be playing this card in an Excellent Elements deck. Again, in that area. Electromagnetism, I definitely think is at the same level, something like DNA. It does sort of the same thing. However, it's all cards in your hand, and you're going to be playing a more variety-based deck in that instance. However, DNA, you're going to be playing more life and land cards at a different proportion. Antimatter. This is the one card that I have seen valued at being pretty valuable, but I've never really seen the use of it. I know that seems kind of harsh, but in my eyes, I personally don't like the card. I don't use it. I think it's alright. I think it's okay. I'll just put it straight in the middle with REM. I think it's pretty good. Let me see. Electricity, again, I'll put out a good card. 2 power per energy permanently. Again, it's all, no, I'll debuff it. It's not that good. I'll lower it. Yeah, I'll put it around here. It's solid. It's nothing special. Refraction. This is, okay. I definitely think this card will get better as time goes on. Simply because we have now things like Missing Link. And that card combos perfectly with Refraction. At current, I definitely think it'll go into niche deck piece. However, it definitely has the possibility of it being an absolute monster in the future. Just with how much raw permanence you're able to bring, because it is doing, in a deck where you're playing 3, combos of different albums in 3 colors, this thing's just giving everything permanence, which is fantastic. And that wraps up my tier list. Again, this is entirely my opinion, but played this game enough to, put my insight into it. And if you have any different places that you'd put it, put different cards, absolutely debate that, because I love having conversation. And thank you very much for listening. Be sure to be looking out for some other stuff. I think I'll have I think I'm going to put more tier lists and stuff like this. If you guys like it, please like the video. And thank you very much.